Good afternoon. Good afternoon, fine audience. Um, this is a video that I wanted to kind of make for a while as well. Um, I've talked about dialectics, I've talked about narrative, propaganda, messaging, right? But I might title this video like race memetics or something memetics, because that's essentially what this video is going to be about. This video is going to be about how memetics kind of shape our view of reality, you could say, our reality in general, especially in the modern world. And I don't know if I need to go back in history too far. The most obvious example in the modern day is Donald Trump. Donald Trump was quite literally memed into office. I remember when I was young, like I said, I'm a millennial. So, I remember when I was young, memes were becoming like a newer thing on the internet. A lot of people joke like the first memes ever were like cat videos, dog videos, I can has cheeseburger, I has hot dog or whatever, showing my age here, right? Like these were literally the first iterations of meme culture, whatever you want to call it. So the reason why I said race memetics in the beginning is because that's kind of where I see the discourse heading. It's like this new thing, right? It's very new now, is that you can say the N-word and you can talk about race, and there's this term now called black fatigue. I think another memetic force that's taking place too is what I'm going to term hoe fatigue, which essentially means like all the women, right? Like if you guys watch the Whatever podcast, I don't really watch it, but I'm a big Jay Dyer follower, so I did watch his recent debate, you could say, on the Whatever podcast with Not So Erudite is her name. And she's really cringe. She's like basically a Destiny clone, but she's a great example of hoe fatigue, because it's like this weird, it's this weird thing that's happening now where the women are still hoes basically, but they're like trying to brand themselves as like something more, like, oh, I'm intelligent, right? Like this Not So Erudite chick. She gets up there and she talks about GDP. She's like, feminism is good because GDP. She's like literally the meme. It's really cringe. Like how I talk about how the reason our society is in the crapper is because all we care about is GDP. Like we've sacrificed everything for GDP, and then here's this broad up there making arguments for, like the reasons we need to keep feminism is GDP. So it's like just kind of making the case of why we actually don't need feminism because GDP, right? And so, yeah, this Not So Erudite chick, she debated Jay Dyer. And, sorry, I'm outside. It's like 11 in the morning. I said good afternoon, but it's like 11 in the morning, kind of a little bit of a gloomy day. It's not cold out, but it's very cloudy out, and yeah, there's just a lot going on. But yeah, she's a great example of hoe fatigue, because she gets up on this Whatever podcast, and she she's got her boobs hanging out basically, like that's what they do. They wear these like low cut tops. Like there's a reason why Hillary Clinton, for all you aspiring feminist debaters out there's a reason why Hillary Clinton wears a pantsuit. It's because nobody takes you seriously when you walk around with your tits hanging out. I mean, it's this weird thing where like I've talked about this in the past, is where like pornography and the the Coomer brain culture has like leaked into normal society, where now, without even thinking, a lot of these women will essentially dress up like hoes in normal functions, like going to the gym or going to the grocery stores. Like I even see mothers, like one of my friends has a young daughter, and I'll like before the gym we'll go and like drop her off at school, and I see the mothers coming out of the cars and dropping their kids off, and like some of these mothers are like, it's like, what are you wearing? Like, what are you doing? You're walking up to drop your kid off at school wearing like yoga pants where we can like all see your butt. It's beside the point, but like this video is really supposed to be more about race memetics, but I guess it could be about memetics as a whole. So the big memetic that's happening right now is fatigue, is kind of what I'm getting at. So you got black fatigue, you got hoe fatigue. I'd say you've got political fatigue. I've talked about that in the past. Like, I'm just tired. If I'm being completely honest, I'm just really tired of all of this. Like, politicization of everything. Like, we can't enjoy sports anymore. We can't enjoy video games, movies. We can't even enjoy each other. Like, men and women cannot enjoy each other because of politics. And yeah, all this came about because of memes, essentially, memetics. Because even before the Trump meme, right? I hate the phrase "the left can't meme." I've always hated that phrase because the left can meme, and they did it to us over the last 100 years. They literally memed this existence that we're in into existence through the long march of the institutions. That's called memes, because memes are essentially just ideas. And yeah, the left most certainly can meme. They did meme. A lot of it's based on lies and deception, gaslighting, propaganda. I mean, what is propaganda, right? Propaganda is meme warfare. And the white pill of today is that we're now seeing like an opposite memetic movement reaction to that, in the form of, white consciousness, pointing out that feminism is completely failed, right? Another one is transgenderism. Nobody actually believes that transgenders are like real people. I don't mean like they don't exist. I'm talking about like they're just mentally ill people is what I mean. There is no such thing as a trans kid. That is a Frankenstein creation, right? Again, created memetically, you could say. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about this morning. I made a previous video. Been trying to get up really early now because of the job, but I still struggle with mornings from about the hours of like 7 to 9. Man, I really struggle being awake during those hours. But yeah, it's just what I was thinking about the gym today. I was like, because I was listening to this podcast that I kind of like. It's called, his name is Memetic Now. Orthodox Christian. So like, yeah, that's kind of what happened for me, is like I started looking outside of Mormonism and found I kind of went through a little bit of the ringer. I found Calvinism first. I thought Calvinism was pretty based, but then it was like, they believe in predetermination, so I didn't like that. And then I looked into Baptist for a while, but ultimately I ended up Orthodox Christian, and I'm not like practicing yet or anything, so I'm not trying to speak from a higher. So I'm just those are the circles that I'm like in as far as my intellectual journey. So yeah, I started watching this Memetic Now guy. Found out about him through Pete Quinones, who I've talked about in the past. But he predicted that a long time ago, that orthodoxy was going to be kind of this like meme. Essentially, it was going to become like more for the aesthetic than for the actual like Christian salvation value of it, right? And it's kind of happening. It's kind of happening. We'll have to see how it goes. You know, it's very early, but orthodoxy is having like an explosion, and even in my own personal life, right? When I confront my friends with some of these arguments, they have no clue how to respond, because a lot of Christianity and if you could call Mormons Christians, I don't know, the debate's out there, right? But a lot of Christianity, they don't have any like actual ontology. They don't have any like basis for their beliefs. It's just more like this guy said this in the past, and so like we follow this guy. Like a good example as well is Lutheranism, right? Martin Luther. You've got the Thomists, right? Thomas Aquinas. This is where they get their fundamental beliefs. It's from like some guy that broke off from you could say Orthodox Christianity, right? Because even the Roman Catholics are that way too. They broke off from when the church separated. You know, they established a papacy, and I don't know why I'm going into this, but the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of the debates now are happening around this, and there is like a memetic force that is kind of happening with orthodoxy and just truth. It's kind of like I've spoken in the past, like we are entering like a new right-wing age, which is very good in my opinion, but it does also mean that a lot of our, you know, liberalist priors, especially millennials, like a lot of us are just going to have to wake up. I never really had this problem. Like I was never a liberal in my life. I would say like the worst period I've ever been politically was like a neocon. You know, I bought into the George W. Bush stuff. The first time I ever voted was for Mitt Romney. So like, you know, I was cringe, but I've never been a leftist. I don't understand how people think. Like I understand why they think the way they think. What I should say is I don't understand how anyone could actually be a leftist. You know, I was a Ron Paul libertarian as well, but what I'm realizing now, especially after reading Hans Hermann Hoppe's Democracy, the God That Failed, is that I'm probably more of a monarchist. The libertarian aspect is more just I believe people have free will, which is just more of a Christian mentality, but I don't believe in like freedom at all costs, because you know then you get the society that we have right now, right? Libertarianism in many ways is like a child's ideology. It really is. It's like I call it the political waiting room, because what it is left or right. No, when you wake up or whatever, you have an awakening, you usually become a libertarian, because that's the purpose of it. Essentially, is that it's just there to be a waiting room, right? You go into the anarchy, and you see this with people like you know, Stefan Molyneux or like Dave Smith. Like they're really great minds, but you can tell that because they're like ideologically committed to libertarianism, they're never going to take that next step. And I'm not saying they never will. You know, God works in mysterious ways. But I did hear Molyneux say something like not too long ago, like literally just a couple weeks ago, where he essentially said something so cringe I couldn't believe that he said it. It made me like turn the podcast off. Like usually I can listen through all of his, but he literally said that we don't need the 10 Commandments anymore, because we have UPB is what it's called. And if you guys don't know what this is, so UPB is this book that Stefan Molyneux wrote several years ago called Universally Preferable Behavior. And And I read it. I actually have the book. I have a lot of Stefan Molyneux's books. I've talked in this channel before that I think a lot of millennials in my situation can relate, that, Stefan Molyneux was a really good force for a lot of us when we were very young. He got us into thinking about politics, thinking about these like broader issues more seriously, and he got us thinking about money. First time I ever heard the word Bitcoin was actually from Stefan Molyneux. But he is like very committed to this anarcho-capitalist, memetic. He really will not leave the libertarian ethos, you could say. And I'm saying all this to say that what he did is he wrote a book called UPB. And as I just said, he literally said this on a recent podcast. He says, we don't need the Bible's 10 Commandments, because now we have UPB. So he's like talking about it as if like everybody knows what that is, for one, which is absolutely hilarious on its face. Molyneux's like fringe, man. Like, he got kicked off YouTube. He does not have as much reach now. A lot of it is by his own choice. I'm not saying that he's not capable, but he's not out there in the mainstream. Most people have not read the book Universally Preferable Behavior, UPB. But the book essentially is just the 10 Commandments. It's like Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Like, this is what these people do. They just take something that already exists in Christianity, and then they just like rephrase it to make it their own. It's kind of what America is in general. That's what liberalism is. And liberalism is afforded all of its luxuries because of the Christian priors. And so, sorry, it's getting a little bit chilly out here. It was like kind of sunny when I came out, but now I might have to wrap this video up and get out of the. It's my own fault wearing a freaking tank top. But it is May. We're in the middle of May and it's still chilly. This is typical Utah weather, in case you guys are wondering what it's like to live in a mountain state. Everybody loves the idea of Utah, but I don't know if they've lived here. But yeah, I'm kind of saying all this to show that the memetic force of the age is changing. I kind of rambled off about Molyneux, but it's to establish a point that like libertarianism as well is falling, because libertarianism was always kind of that acceptable form of right wing. You can't even. I don't think it's not actually right wing. It was just that like the establishment was like, you can be a libertarian. That's the acceptable form, right? You can talk about ending the Fed all day, but don't ever talk about our friends in the Middle East. Don't ever talk about feminism. Don't talk about anything that really matters. Just make it all about the economy. That's what we're allowing you to do. And don't talk about the spiritual rot at the core of the nation. Just don't talk about these things. But the memetic force of the current day, guys, is a positive one, if you want to think of it that way. Is that we are heading in a much more right-wing direction than even the neocon perspective, right? The neocons right now, that's something that's happening in the dialectic, is the neocons are desperately trying to grasp for power still. This is why, like, whenever Trump does anything, he does it under the guise of, we're combating anti-Semitism, right? Like, anytime he sends an illegal away from the country, he says it in the way of like, but we're doing it to combat anti-Semitism. Kristi Noem just did something with Harvard. They're like cutting Harvard. I can't remember exactly what it is, like immigrant students. They're like cutting it, but they're doing it in the name of anti-Semitism. And then you just recently had that tragic attack in the Israel embassy in DC. But they're going to use this obviously to be like, we need more support for Israel, right? This is what I mean. Like, this is the neocon project, if you guys There's a book called the Neocon Revolution. I always forget the author's name. I think his last name's Friedman. It's written by a Jew, actually, and the guy is a neocon. He's kind of like bragging about it, but it's a very good book to read. You guys know about like Irving Kristol, Bill Kristol. These are like the classic neocons. And I say this because I used to be one. I didn't know what it was, but I used to be a Bush Republican. But again, even that's leaving us. So the memes of the day, to summarize this video, to end it and sum it up, is that noticing race is now becoming very normal. We see this with the South African debate that's starting now. Trump himself just dropped a bombshell on this. And we're also seeing it with the black fatigue in the country, right? And this largely happened because leftists, in their infinite wisdom, decided that, hey, if we put body cams on cops, it's going to show you how racist cops are. But turns out it showed the exact opposite, guys. It's actually showing that, hey, these cops are getting their asses kicked out there, and they literally do everything they can up to the point where they have to, pull the trigger. So it's done the opposite. It's actually shown that, like, yeah, there is this real problem with crime from a certain group in this country, and then it gets covered up by the media. So that's changing. Hoe fatigue. This ties into the feminism that I always talk, but I think men especially, but also even women, because there's a lot of good women out there that are just want to be mothers, right? They just want to have their kids and take them to the park and not see girls in yoga pants. There's this real fatigue of like just women, especially as women age. This is something that really is getting like the Madonna phenomenon, right? Where these women just try to be like Michelle Obama. This is like a recent, she's on podcast now. Like, I guess she's divorcing Obama. She's divorcing Barack. And she's like turning into Jada Pinkett Smith before our eyes. Like she's like, it's just so cringe when these older women do this. So that's changing too, like this toleration of just like disgusting female behavior. And then another thing that's changing, and it's the video that I made before this about why they hate men, is that I think that patriarchy, masculinity is gonna, I don't even know if it's gonna be memed, because it doesn't have to be, but men are just gonna start doing stuff is the way to think about it. We're just gonna look around and just say, you know what, like, enough is enough. Like, I'm just gonna start fixing this. And it's not gonna happen overnight, but it'll be one of those things where, you're gonna see like legitimate political movements come out of this, right? Like, people meme about Nick Fuentes, but things like that are actually going to affect politics a lot more than people realize. It's kind of like 10-15 years ago when everybody used to laugh at Tumblr, right? For the young people in the audience, Tumblr was where a lot of this LGBTQ queer theory, you could argue it came from the colleges, right? But the way that it like manifested itself in the millennial generation was that you just had all these Tumblr groups, right? Like furries, all this stuff, started on literal forum posts and then, bled into reality. So anyone that says memes don't matter, they're just not paying attention. That's like kind of what I was wanting to get across this whole video, is that memes have a lot more power than people realize, because memes essentially are narrative control, and they are propaganda. Propaganda is a tool. It doesn't mean it's good or bad. In fact, the way that I've said it before, the way that we're going to fix the woman problem ultimately is that we're going to have to basically like re-propagandize them in like a more traditional way. And you're going to get a lot of cringe from that. You're going to get a lot of, again, the Memetic Now guy that I watch, he talks about this, about how like a lot of women are just going to be like pretending to be trad, but they're not going to actually be trad, because it's just like, now that woke is going away, the new spirit of the discourse will be, pretending to be like a traditional wife, and you're gonna get all these TikTokers and women fame, and you're gonna get like Lily Gaddis's or Sarah Stock. I'm not saying those are necessarily bad things, but at the same time, you never know with girls like that. It's like Hawk Tuah last year, right? She kind of like came and went. And a lot of people theorize that the whole point of Hawk Tuah was actually that they were going to do a rug pull crypto scheme. I mean, it's very possible. Like you never know who's like a creation and who's genuine nowadays. So that's kind of the bottom line. Yeah, like take memes seriously. Don't discount them. Do not disrespect your enemy either. If you're on the right wing like I am, do not pretend like the left can't meme. The left memed for decades to get us to this point. And we're finding out that like all they care about is power. They will do anything and everything to keep it. They have no objective standards other than power. They will deflect, they will gaslight. That's what they do. But the way that you defeat it is through memes. And the one good thing about the right wing, I always say, the true right wing, not like neocons or libertarians, is that we have the best meme of all, which is truth. I mean, just that there's a reason why the term based, right? That's an example of memes. The term based came about because it means based in reality. It means truth. That's what you're seeking. So I hope all of that makes sense. I didn't say it in the video. I forget, but my name is Joey. This is the Jigsaw 0097 channel. If you guys are enjoying this content, if you like these rambles, especially if you made it all the way through, thank you so much. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below. But that'll wrap it up for this one, guys. I'll talk to y'all later.